Hello, welcome to Spirit of Change. We have on the sets, as usual, to take us through this beautiful journey, Sister Shireen. And we have been talking about a lot of topics. And the last episode, we were talking about dealing with my own anger. Welcome, Sister.
It's nice to be with you, Shalini, here.
Thank you, and it's lovely to have you here with us. We were talking about dealing with my own anger, but then there's another aspect, and that's dealing with the other person's anger. And we spoke about being peaceful and loveful and patient, but a lot of times what happens is, you're like, okay, that's enough. I can't take it anymore. Like if my husband has this tendency of coming home and getting angry, and the children are getting affected by it, and I just want to run away from it. I just don't want to face it anymore. So how do I deal with it?
It's a big test paper, isn't it?
Test paper.
Yes, it is a big test paper, especially if you have to deal with it every day, day in and day out.
Yes.
And someone in the house is getting very, very angry. Recently, I was listening to someone very close to me talk to me about someone else who's very close to me, saying, I can't deal with their anger. I just, I want to do something. And so what I did, what we call Mansa Seva.
Yes, good vibes.
Yes,
while you're meditating.
Right, while I'm meditating, I send a lot of service through the mind. Mm-hmm. That I do service through the mind. The first step here is you shouldn't get involved in their anger. You have to be really careful.
That's like not absorbing their negativity.
Right. And the way we do that is not only we absorb their negativity, we start thinking negative.
That was my next question to you. A lot of times we feel like just reflecting it back to the person, like just reacting, and you don't even realize that you've just reacted. That means you've absorbed their negativity, and now
right, and then you are you had no intentions. It's a downward spiral, right?
Exactly.
Because first you had no intentions of becoming angry or thinking negative thoughts. This person comes in from work and starts being negative. Before long, you are in the gutter with that person.
Exactly.
And so we have to protect ourselves.
Yes.
That's the first thing we have to do, is we have to protect ourselves. Because in many situations, you cannot step away.
Yes.
You can't just say, hey, you do what you want, I leave.
Yes,
you can't do that.
You have to be there.
You have to be there. And so, but you have to mentally protect yourself.
And how do I do that?
First, mentally protect yourself is the way I do it is I start thinking about my original self. I keep asking myself, who am I? Who's God? I start thinking about these things.
The thing that comes to mind when the other person is shouting or, just yelling, and I could be like, okay, I go step back and I think about my original self. But I also tend to feel if I keep doing this, the other person is going to take me for granted. This is going to become like a habit with the other person.
You have to have faith. You have to have faith. And this is what amounts to actually. Basically, the bottom line of dealing with anyone's anger is you have to have faith that your good wishes, your thinking about elevated thoughts will transform the other person.
And will do good to me.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But there has to be that faith.
Yes.
There has to be that faith that says, yes, this is going to work this way.
Yes, right. Because I was just thinking that, okay, suppose if you smoke, I won't start smoking because I know that smoking is not good for health.
Right.
So could we use the same equation?
Right. And also what happens is even secondary smoke, right, is really bad for you.
Yes.
So you start getting angry or you start smoking and
Passive
I inhale and I inhale the smoke and I start getting angry. So how is it helpful?
Yes, I need to protect myself.
Yes, I need to protect myself. And the only way to protect yourself is you can't stop thinking about a situation. Any situation, you can't stop thinking about it. You have to start thinking about something else.
Okay.
And that is why I start thinking about my original self.
Yes.
I start thinking about the fact that I am
A peaceful soul.
Or a peaceful soul.
Yes.
Or I'm loveful, I'm wise, I'm pure, I'm bliss, whichever, I'm happy, I'm powerful, whatever. Fill in the blanks. I'm courageous soul, all of that, right? You think about that, but not only that. There's a second step. The second step is you have to start thinking about the other person the same way.
Yes.
Because there's an exaggerated bad. You start exaggerating the other person's negativity.
Exactly.
By you reflecting on it.
Right.
So you exaggerate it more. It's like shining a light on their negativity.
Yes. And that won't help.
That really doesn't help.
So at that moment, if I could start thinking about, the good qualities that the person also has in him. Or I was thinking, if my husband comes home and is shouting, maybe there's been a challenging situation at work. I could be a little more understanding, because if I am also...
No, but this is what happens. If you make your transformation about the other person, you can't give excuses for them for too long. Because how long can you think that, hey, they're having a bad day? So your transformation shouldn't be dependent on them.
Yes.
You shouldn't be thinking, oh, they had a bad day and so, because then you're giving excuses for them and those excuses run out very fast.
That's true. And also, if I could take responsibility for what I'm feeling, rather than blaming the other person for making me feel angry, could also be another, if I start taking charge of my own moods.
Right.
Yes.
Right. But, in a situation like this, in a household where kids are getting affected, your husband is coming home, it's just all very
messed up.
Tangled.
Yes.
It's all very tangled.
Yes.
And so, but someone has to start. You have to start taking the initiative. Whoever is going through the situation, I want them to try this for a few weeks.
Yes.
And you see the result, and then you will really notice that, yes, this actually works.
Yes, true. Sister, we were talking about a situation at home. What if there's a situation in the office where I have a very angry boss? Every time that he gets angry, I seem to be getting affected, and my efficiency and performance in my work is also getting affected, which eventually makes me make me feel very inadequate about myself.
Right.
So what can I do in a situation where, because if it's my family, I could still have, some warm, compassionate feelings about my husband.
You think so?
But a lot of times, okay, if you have to...
I understand what you're saying about the question about the work. And so the same thing. Don't exaggerate anyone. No one is as bad as you make them out to be.
Yes.
And no one is as good as you make them out to be either.
Yeah.
But the way I deal with especially work is just like these people are my family.
Yes.
I'm a child of God and that person is a child of God.
Yes.
Right? They might not be connected with me blood, but they're connected with me because I'm connected with the Supreme.
And could I do Mansa Seva for them as well?
Exactly. But just changing this particular thought changes them. You notice it is a spiritual law. When you change and when your thoughts about the other person changes, they will change.
I think the kind of energy that you transmit to them.
Right.
If it's like, suppose the person in front of me is a child of God, he's a peaceful soul. So my entire energy changes and my perspective changes.
Right.
Could we do a meditation on that, sister?
Sure. Take a deep breath and release that breath and relax into yourself. Take another deep breath and relax your hands, your legs, your shoulders. Take another deep breath and go within and connect to yourself as a spiritual being. And as a spiritual being, remind yourself at the core, I am a pure soul. I'm a soul that is untainted by any kind of anger. Anger or dislike or jealousy or anything. I'm untouched. I'm innocent. At the core, I am like a small baby. And this is who I am. And from that space of being a small child, I look at the world around me and I invoke the person and I send them lots of love and good wishes. I remind myself at the core, they too are pure beings. At the core, they are all children of the Supreme. I'm a child of the Supreme. They are children of the Supreme. And we are linked together through the Supreme. And bring God in between both of you. And see them through the lens that God sees them. As pure, peaceful, loving beings. And when I'm able to do this for a few moments, really see them as God sees them, not the way I see them, not with their negativity, none of that stuff, just as pure, peaceful, loving souls. Come back to the here and the now. Om Shanti, I am peace.
Thank you, sister. That was really nice. There's another reason why people get angry. You were talking about expectations. You know that a lot of expectations from other people makes me angry. So I could be at the
Receiving
end, because even as a child, if I didn't do something which my parents expected me to do, I could see a reaction on their face saying that they're really angry with me. So even as I grow up, I get used to getting, like kind of sucked into that expectation, that groove that I need to fulfill the expectations of everybody. But sometimes, can I just tell myself it's okay?
Yes. I'm a very radical person that way. I live in the world, but I dictate my own terms.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be loving, but I don't want to give up my dignity.
True.
And so I ask, is that expectation giving up my dignity? And if it is giving up my dignity, then I won't do it.
Right. And it's so much that you can do. If I'm a cricketer and I've done the best that I could do, but sometimes that's not good enough.
And that's not good enough for some people. Some people just the way they are.
Yeah. So, the best that I can do is check my own self if I have been, good enough. Because sometimes that can be just such a pressure.
Right.
The other person is just getting angry with you because you just didn't fulfill their expectations.
Right.
Whether it's even kids.
I'm a bit radical in this. And that is, I ask myself the question, is it affecting my dignity? I'd like to fulfill people's some expectations, but I can't fulfill all
their expectations.
Because it's just too much.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's too much. So I just ask myself the question, is it affecting my dignity? Is it affecting my self-respect in any way? And if it is, then I don't.
And at a very basic level, is it affecting my state of mind. Because
Exactly.
what if I have expectations at work from my boss, I fulfill them, but then I feel my family, is feeling unhappy because I couldn't be there for them.
Right.
So that tends to, put a lot of pressure on me.
That is why I feel this meditation should be a daily practice, actually twice a day practice.
Yes.
Because once you practice this twice a day, all these situations, because there's so many situations, right? We can't address every situation. Every situation is different, and you have to be able to respond to every situation.
Yes.
But you will be able to respond if you meditate twice a day and you come into a calm space, you know exactly what to do.
But sister, will it really help me? Because there are people who are living with this belief system since a very long time, and that's why they do things they don't want to do. They don't feel happy inside, but they, it's just like a mask which they wear on the outside to make others happy.
It works. You have to start somewhere, no? You can't say, I've lived with cancer all my life, and so now I'm not going to do anything about it.
Yeah.
You have to start your cure someplace, no?
Even if it makes a few people unhappy?
Even if it makes a few people unhappy, you have to start somewhere. And so you start by really thinking about these things. You start by picking up a practice. Practice meditation in the morning, in the evening, reminding yourself who you are in the morning, remembering God, reminding of yourself who you're in the evening, remembering God. Both have to happen. And so when you're able to do that, when you're able to stay in silence, then you will know how to deal with the situation.
Is it also about detachment from the role?
Yes. Detachment from the role, detachment from the people, detachment what they will do, what they won't do, all
the
of
drama.
those, the drama, all of that.
Yes. So I think that's a good note to finish today's episode on. I hope that our viewers would get a lot of answers to how to deal with the anger of the other person, because we do tend to feel like victims, and which is not a very good feeling.
Right.
So thank you, sister. Thank you for being with us. I hope that we have been able to address a lot of issues dealing with the other person's anger, because it makes us feel very helpless. But like sister told us, that you don't have to feel helpless. You do have the power, and you definitely have the power of God to help you deal with angry bosses, angry spouse, angry children. And they're all there, but it's all about empowering ourselves with the spirit of change, right? So thank you. See you soon. Om Shanti.